Hello everyone and welcome to another video. This story was sent to me by a viewer of this channel. I've omitted all the names and places and some other details so as not to put anyone in danger. But the person who contacted me wanted me to tell this story as a warning to others. My viewer emailed to tell me that his wife had been scammed for a 5-figure sum in euros. My viewer told me I am still in love with my wife and I lost all my savings along with her own. The victim is an Instagram user and had been contacted on Instagram by a profile that was claiming to be a celebrity US doctor. The victim had sent the money to this so-called doctor, who had promised to pay it back. My viewer told me it was supposed to be paid back, but 1 year has passed. When the money wasn't paid back, the victim, believing that she'd sent the money to the real doctor, filed an FBI case against him. According to my viewer, she filed an FBI case against him some time ago, but the FBI refuses to do anything, considering she is not an American. There is a lot more. Our experience is a cautionary tale for the innocent, ladies. And I would add, gentlemen, because of course, this kind of experience can happen to anyone. The victim was totally convinced that she was talking to the real person and not to a scammer. My viewer continued, she is in love with him and will be flying 10,000 kilometres to meet him. In fact, she was so convinced that she was talking to the real person that she'd almost convinced her husband. Some of what he wrote to me gave me the impression that he almost believed it, and sometimes it seemed clear that he knew that she was talking to a scammer. Towards the beginning of our correspondence, he wrote this to me. Although there has been some circumstantial evidence pointing that the man she's been communicating with is not the real doctor, my personal feeling is that the good doctor is practicing an alternate profession. The real doctor is a regular user of social media. He has verified accounts on several platforms. My viewer continued, my wife has been honest with me, sharing the nature of their communications. She tells me when the doctor is online, etc. He has 2 accounts and alternates between them. Both are verified and authentic. This is what almost convinces me that the scammer was the doctor himself. And you'll see from this that both my viewer and his wife were starting to blur the lines between the scammer and the real person. It later became clear to me that there was no evidence that his wife had ever communicated with the doctor via his verified accounts. And of course, being a regular social media user, he, or one of his staff, frequently kept his accounts up to date. And if my viewer could see when the real doctor was online and updating his accounts, then so could the scammers. My viewer continued with information about Bitcoin accounts, which they watched being filled and emptied. However, my viewer never provided any evidence that these Bitcoin accounts were linked to the genuine doctor. I suspect that all were linked to the scammers. I think it's unlikely that this was a single scammer. I suspect that this was a gang of international scammers who were money laundering. And as I've already said, it wouldn't be hard for the scammers to monitor the real doctor's social media accounts and do their own transactions at the same time as he appeared to be online. My viewer also told me it began in the early part of 2020 when she was approached by the man. She had joined Instagram in order to keep an eye on our son's account. And of course that's what many responsible parents do, join social media sites to ensure that their children are staying safe. Actual money was sent to him via Bitcoin in July 2020 and was supposed to be a loan. To this day has not been repaid. So in the interests of trying to be a responsible parent and monitoring her own child's activity, this lady fell prey to a scammer. And at this point, I'd just like to say that if you're on any social media platform and you're commenting or you're posting, which we all do, and you're approached out of the blue by someone, especially someone who claims to be a celebrity of any kind, there's about a 99.99% chance that you're talking to a scammer. Just stop and ask yourself, why would that person contact you? I don't mean that with any disrespect to you, whoever you are, but no celebrity or well-known social media person is ever going to contact a random person out of the blue. I found the real doctor's accounts on Instagram and asked, are these the accounts your wife uses to correspond with him? To which my viewer replied, she writes to him using WhatsApp right from the beginning. And that, of course, is the classic scammer technique, getting you off Instagram or Facebook as quickly as they can in case their fake accounts are deleted. I suspect, although I have no evidence of this, that this lady left a comment on one of the doctor's Instagram posts. The scammer very possibly then replied to her, using an account with a similar name to the doctor. They would have then got into conversation, and the lady, believing that she was talking to the real doctor, would have followed the instruction to move to WhatsApp. He continued, except he made a video call early on, and she claims that it was the real man. Well, it almost certainly was, because if you've been watching any of my previous videos, you'll know that one of the tricks that the scammers use is to steal a short video and then play it to their potential victim. He added, she also said he claimed to use a voice modulator. That's strange, but she justifies it. Now, the reason that he claimed that, of course, was that the person talking didn't sound anything like the real doctor and certainly wouldn't have been talking in sync with the video. But this is a very sad and very good example of how a victim who believes that they're talking to a genuine person can be taken in by these little videos that the scammers play. Believing that they're talking to the real person, they don't question why the clips are short or why the person talking to them isn't talking in sync with what's being said to them, or not interacting with them, not actually having a conversation with them. I, or rather Annie, replied, claiming he's using a voice modulator is a giveaway. I'd guess she's been told not to message/post on his real accounts for privacy reasons, in case his wife sees, so other people don't know she's talking to him, or whatever. To which his reply was, yes, she was once even blocked from his real account, but since has been returned. This is why I tend to lean to the idea that she's dealing with the real person. Blurring those lines again. What that makes me think is that she was posting on the real accounts things that the real doctor would have deemed to be inappropriate, for example, accusations of stealing money from her, and that this would have been the reason why she was temporarily blocked from the accounts. Underlining what I'd said, he continued, originally she was told that the wife was dead. Subsequently, wife is alive, but they're separated/divorced. However, mine still posts directly onto his account, even though we know that his wife is also posting on there. So her access to the doctor's real accounts having been reinstated, this lady was posting on the doctor's real accounts while simultaneously talking to the scammers on WhatsApp. My viewer then wrote to say I was able to verify that there has been only one video call. That was the first, supposed to have been from Yemen to the country where this lady lives. Picture quality was poor, so was audio. He was in medical scrubs in a room, but voice and video did not sync. Subsequently, only voice calls under 10. He admitted to using a voice modulator because, according to his own admission, he did not have an American accent. You will notice that if you watch the doctor on YouTube, he has an American accent. 2 comments on that last screenshot. One, which is what I said before about the scammers playing short videos and hoping that their victim won't notice that the sound isn't in sync with what they're saying. And the other is that he said from Yemen. That makes me think that these scammers are working several scams. Until recently, all the fake military doctors were working in Afghanistan, but of course America pulled out of Afghanistan. So subsequently, all the scammers who were pretending to be military doctors moved to Yemen or Syria. The doctor in question is a cosmetic surgeon based in a large American city. There's no reason why he would ever be in Yemen. So I asked my viewer, what was he supposed to be doing in Yemen? The scammer, of course, had an answer, the kind of answer that required money. My viewer told me he claims to be under UN contract with his team to fly to Yemen. He would be handsomely repaid and then would have enough to retire on. Your typical scam in action, my viewer added, to save me having to do it for you. Unfortunately, he continued, there was equipment failure, and voila, here I am without my wife and my inheritance gone. My viewer elaborated a bit further in his next email. He said his supposed time in Yemen was to be from the 23rd of July to the 23rd of August 2020. This is when my wife sent the first monies. Then, when he was supposed to arrive back in the USA, he was supposedly arrested on some marijuana charges. I'm not entirely clear on this. However, he is supposed to have spent some jail time until wife paid bail money. And this underlines what I've often said in previous videos, which is the more money you send a scammer, the more they will ask for. Something I can never show in my own videos because, of course, none of my girls ever actually send any money. He finished this email with a question. My ultimate question, stroke concern, is who specifically my wife planning to meet in the city that she was visiting. My probably not very helpful reply was my guess is either they will cancel at short notice and she won't go, or she will arrive and they will have an excuse for why they can't be there and ask for more money from her, or someone will meet her and give her an excuse for why the doctor can't be there himself. Or I'll be wrong and it will be something else. That was the 27th of October. All we could do then was wait and see what happened. Then, on the 10th of November, I received this email. To update you, I just dropped my wife at the airport. She will be flying to the States later today. The doctor has been advised that she will be arriving. I expect that she will arrange a meeting within a week, and she has assured me that she will send a picture of their meeting. I will let you know if the person she meets is the man she thinks she has been chatting with. I know, based on the encounters of the vast majority, it seems unlikely she will, but she is hope-filled. 2 days later, he emailed again to say my wife has scheduled a meeting in a public place at 1400 local time. This was the point where alarm bells started ringing in scam baiter land. I told a couple of fellow scam baiters, and their very strong advice was that my viewer should inform the local police in case his wife came to any harm. Although he didn't inform the police, my viewer took our concerns seriously and replied, "Thank you for your concern about my wife. I was alarmed, so just checked in on her and she is all right. The doctor failed to show up, but has asked her if she would like to meet his sons. See dialogue," and he sent me some dialogue between his wife and the scammers. I won't reproduce it here because I've never had any correspondence with my viewer's wife and don't have her permission to share. I didn't hear from my viewer again for a few days, and then 6 days later he sent me this email. My wife is currently somewhere in the air over North America, heading home after 9 days. It was a short holiday, but she did not meet him. There were texts back and forth. In fact, in some, he assured her that he was coming to meet her, but he never did. He is a liar. There was one final email, most of which I won't share, which I was sent after I asked my viewer if he could think of any reason why his wife might want what to us was clearly a fantasy to be true. Of course, he at least partly blames himself, but I don't think anyone's to blame. I personally think that his wife knows deep in her heart that she was talking to a scammer, but as many victims have said to me in the past, they want the fantasy to be true. I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist, so I can't offer a reason for why that might be. But my viewer finished by saying, if you feel our experience would help or be of value to others, perhaps even the spouses of victims, you may narrate our experience. I'd like to thank my viewer for sharing his experience. It can't have been easy, but I hope that his and his wife's experience might help save other potential victims and might help the families of other victims to understand that they're not alone.